Good morning, Canes fans. Peter Ariz here alongside D Money. This is CanesInSight live, CanesInSight daily, as we are here every day, Monday through Friday. This show is brought to you by the law offices of Anajar and Levine. D, excited for this show after last night's news of Tyler Barron committing to Miami. We will break that down a little bit more. We had our instant reaction podcast last night. But again, get your questions in here. But we want to break down this pass rush today, D. Big pickup last night.
Yeah, love when we go live. By the way, like and subscribe if you have not. Did the instant reaction for Tyler Barron. We did that like about 3 weeks ago, Pete. My hair was a lot shorter in that video. It's been a while, but love this live format. Get your questions in. We'll talk about the pass rush to get it started. First, I want to talk about Anajar and Levine accident attorneys. You know, if you or someone you care about has been injured in an accident, you could be entitled to significant compensation. Dial 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-3733. Take back control of your life. Go with professionals who will take care of you and treat you like family. Anajar and Levine. All right, so we're live. We already got some questions in. Keep questions coming in the chat or on Twitter or wherever you want to go. But I want to start, Pete, with the pass rushers. We talked about Tyler Barron yesterday. Could this be the best pass rush in the nation? Look at the numbers here. You got Ruben Bain, who's a true freshman, rookie of the year in the ACC. He was a freshman All-America, 44 tackles, 12.5 tackles for loss, 7.5 sacks. You saw what he could do. He's just as good against the run as the pass, but he's lethal against the pass. Power, motor, speed to power, has speed as well, can bend, really could do a lot for you, can also play inside. You've heard Guidry say he could be a 3 technique when you talk about the NFL level. That's what's interesting about him. Same can be said about Akeem Mesidor with the inside-out versatility. Only 2 games last year, like the graphic says, but 10.5 tackles for loss, 7 sacks in his first year at Miami. 113 tackles, 26 tackles for loss, 17.5 sacks in his career. You saw him play inside and outside at Miami the year he really played. Also played a ton of defensive tackle at West Virginia before he transferred. So we talk about, you see ends on this list, but these are all guys that can play inside. Tyler Barron, you know, we did the instant reaction pod, obviously committed to Miami yesterday. One thing that caught my eye watching his film is he didn't line up on the edge a ton. He was lining up right in front of the tackle, more run kind of alignment. Also played some tackle. He's 6'5", 260, so he's a big boy, but he really did not just line up on the edge and let it loose. From what I understand, that's a big reason why he wanted to come to Miami, similar to C.J. Clark, the defensive tackle from NC State, who wanted to come to Miami and get upfield a little more. I think Barron, that's something he's looking to do, even with those kind of tight alignments that were more run focused. 28 tackles, 10.5 tackles for loss, 6 sacks, 101 tackles, 27 tackles for loss, 13.5 sacks in his career. Pro Football Focus did a stat the other day that among returning players, he is 3rd in Power 5 in career pressures. So someone who's getting to the quarterback without necessarily being put in a position to just rush. And Pete, I'll get to you in a second. I just want to go through all these names. Elijah Alston, you said in the graphic, the twitchiest of the bunch. He could be. You saw him on that interception return, the speed. We've talked about how he was bigger in person than we expected when we interviewed him after the spring game. 23 tackles, 11.5 tackles for loss, 6 sacks last season. He's PFF's top pass rusher in the portal, and I believe he's their top-rated pass rusher returning into college football next year. 107 tackles, 19.5 tackles for loss, 9.5 sacks. Pete, I talked a lot there. I want to get through these names, but what do you got on these guys?
Well, you know, when I made this graphic, the key word for me was established, right? Because I think in the past 10, 15 years, right, as we get excited about these off seasons, a lot of times we're projecting what guys are, right? And obviously in today's day and age of the transfer portal, you bring guys in and you kind of understand, or you have a better sense of what you're getting because they've done it at another school, right? There's always an adjustment that needs to be made, but you've seen it on film at the college level. We get excited sometimes about certain guys because of stuff they do on Green Tree, and then it just doesn't materialize. With this group, you understand what you have in Ruben Bain is a special talent. Akeem Mesidor, assuming he comes back healthy, which we don't have any reason to believe he wouldn't, is a guy that I was talking to people last year, going into last year, in terms of NFL scouts who were telling me he could be a top 3 round guy in the right system. Obviously, he's not your prototypical defensive end in today's day and age, these guys who are going to be running 4.4s, but he has the versatility to play inside, outside. And you said it, it's not just the numbers that we see what these numbers are. You see the career numbers of these guys, but the ability to penetrate and pressure, right? That's what the scouts are looking at a lot of times on film. Then next up, Tyler Barron. To me, I've told you off camera, D, that outside of Cam Ward, this could be the biggest pickup of the offseason, right? Damian Martinez, I think, is going to be huge for that offense as well. But in terms of NFL talent at a premium position, again, we understand the shoulder situation. I don't think Miami would have gone out and pursued him, and not only pursued him, but having done their background research, if they didn't feel like he was going to have what it took to make an impact for this team. And then Elijah Alston, again, I say it there, twitchiest of the bunch. I think he brings a different dimension than these three, who I think are more power players, and then and some of that inside quickness as well. But Alston, I think, has a different gear that you see in that pick 6 that he had. We interviewed him as well. I think he's come down here with the right mentality. So excited about this group. These are the edge rushers. Obviously, some of them can play inside as well. But you mentioned CJ Clark, Marley Cook could come in, and when the opposing offensive line might be a little bit gassed, he's going to surprise you with his quickness, right? So this group as a whole, you have a couple of freshmen. Colt McConaughey was making some waves there at the end of spring. Marquise Lightfoot. So, I mean, there's some guys here. Pickett as well, who, we haven't seen him yet, but who knows by midseason, late season, what, if he could be ready to make an impact.
Yeah, and I wanted to talk about the young guys to an extent too, because FSU, everybody says portal at the expense of recruiting. Mario right now, at least on defensive line, is doing both. I think the high school recruiting lagged behind early. The portal was more of a patch-up job because you had such bad recruiting on the defensive line before Mario got here. Now you're seeing impact portal additions plus impact high school additions. So you talk about all the guys we just talked about. We're not mentioning Marquise Lightfoot, 5-star. Armando Blunt, 5-star. Justin Scott, 5 stars. That's 3 5-star offensive linemen. Plus Booker Pickett, who dominated the offseason circuit as a pass rusher. Elias Rudolph, another 4-star, who was injured as a senior but is healthy now, running track, looks like a gazelle, 6'5", extremely productive in Cincinnati as a junior. Michigan, hot on his trail. So these are impact guys you're adding with a layer of youth. Don't forget about Malik Bryant, top 100 player coming out, who's really found a home at edge rusher, had a great spring. He's in the mix too. So this is what Miami's supposed to look like. Established guys on their way to the NFL, and then young guys, hungry guys coming in at mop-up duty and terrorizing, the team. You're winning by 30. You bring these guys in, and they're getting sacks. They're getting interceptions or fumbles for touchdowns. That's how it's supposed to look. That's how it used to look at Miami. So you're getting a little bit back to that after a very slow start, where Mario is, bringing in guys like your Antonio Moultries of the world, who are solid players, but really there to kind of fill holes, as opposed to make an impact. And, the first couple of years of high school defensive line recruiting, not where we wanted to be. We talked about that a lot in the podcast. Now impact high school defensive line recruiting with 5 stars and 4 stars who are probably ready to make an impact if you needed them. But because of the depth, you give them some time to grow a mustache. And then when they really are ready, you unleash them and you start to look like, the Georgias and the Alabamas and Ohio States, and the way it's supposed to look, really look like Miami, because that's the true defensive line you.
Let's get into some of these questions here, D. And again, like this video, subscribe to the channel. We're bringing this content every day. We do a live show, a live Q&A. Every week, we have our instant reaction up. So we really got in depth on Tyler Barron. There's already some questions here about him as a player and the injuries and stuff like that. But we'll get into this first question here from Melvin Miller, staying on the topic of the defensive line. How would you compare this defensive line that Miami has put together with some of the better D lines in the last 10 to 15 years in the ACC?
Great question. I wouldn't put them in that category yet. I'd put them in the present tense. I think they're as good as it gets. In terms of going to the past, you've had defensive lines with multiple first-round picks. You think of Clemson with Christian Wilkins, Cleveland Farrell. Who else did they have on that one? They had another first-rounder.
Dexter Lawrence. Austin Bryant was a fourth-rounder on that same line. Go a little further back, Shaq Lawson, guys like that. Kid that got drafted to the I think his name was Dodd, got drafted to the Tennessee Titans. So second round, they had multiple first round guys and then second, third, fourth round guys. I'm not sure Miami's there yet, but we'll see at the end of the season. I think depth wise, they're very good, particularly at the pass rusher spot. We didn't even mention Francisco Mauanoa, who's not a defensive lineman, but he had about 8 sacks last year. So you got to worry about him as a pass rusher as well. I think pass rush wise, this is going to be a very good group. Do you have a Dexter Lawrence, that first round defensive tackle, or like looking at FSU when they won the championship, they had Goldman, guys like that, those big, very athletic second, third round, first round defensive tackles. I'm not sure Miami's there. Mario Edwards, right?
Edwards, right? Tim Jernigan, who's not as big, but he was a big player as well. I'm not sure Miami's in that category yet. Christian Wilkins, of course. You're talking about the big ACC defensive lines. But they're getting there. FSU last year had a very good defensive line. They had a first-round pick with Jared Verse, second-round pick in Fisk. Patrick Payton was very good. That's kind of the bar you're trying to get to because that was a very good line. I think Miami might have more depth than that. I don't know at the high end yet. Ruben Bain, I would say, is just as good as Verse, potentially. Similar type of player. We'll see. But that's, I think, right now, ACC, I think we're the best. Going back, let's see. Let's talk to me at the end of the year.
Gio asking where this shirt is from. Believe this was a couple years ago I got this shirt, but it was a Caneswear. As always, go to caneswear.com. That's the spot where Miami fans shop. Keeping it moving here. Blaine Boy asking for a prediction on wins for the season, D, which obviously we're still, got to get through fall camp here and whatnot. But I think the roster's set now for the most part.
Yeah, look, they got to get through fall camp, like you said. I think the expectation should be double-digit wins, competing for ACC title, competing for this 12-team playoff. I think that's the expectation. Internally and externally shouldn't be any different. I think the time for incremental progress has passed. Now it's time for the breakthrough. Year 3, this roster's loaded. This has to be the breakthrough. And I think that's the expectation. Prediction, we'll talk after camp.
So keeping it moving here.
Let's get Jordan Livingston.
Yeah, Jordan Livingston with a question. Not so long ago, Mark Richt had to pay for the IPF himself. Where the heck is this NIL money coming from?
All right, Pete, point to the hat.
You see it right there, Canes Connection.
Canes Connection. You've been reading all this bad press about the Gators NIL. Read that complaint. I went through it yesterday. If you want to hear a chronology of the complaint, yesterday I went through it, put on my legal hat for a second. And just, broke down the allegations of the complaint. And it's just a complaint. But certainly if you take the allegations as true, which is we're at the pleading stage, that's what happens, it makes the collectives, multiple collectives in the Gators case, look like they don't know what's going on. They can't be relied upon. They can't be relied upon to pay. They don't know what the other one is doing. And it just looked like a disorganized mess. You do not see that with the Miami Hurricanes. You do not see that with Canes Connection. So where's the money coming from? Coming from people like you, people like your peers, people in this chat who have signed up for Canes Connection. So please, if you have not signed up yet, not done your part yet, CanesConnection.com, use promo code CIS, you get 20% off your first month, access to a private Zoom chat, which I am doing one tomorrow at 7:30. I had to move it up because of some personal reasons, but I'm going to have fresh info as direct as you can get, exclusive for Canes Connection members on recruiting, on the team, on everything else. So you are going to want to hear that. Again, that's non-public, stuff I can't say in this forum necessarily. That'll be a live private Zoom for Canes Connection members tomorrow at 7:30. It'll be recorded. Also, if you can't make that, I'll take questions. You can send in questions, you name it. And again, this is going to be a little more private. So the info is going to be a little more candid and stuff that I can't really say with Gators and Knowles lurking around. But if you have not signed up for Canes Connection, again, don't just look to your neighbors to carry the load. If you can help, do it. CanesConnection.com, promo code CIS, 20% off the first month. Make an impact on your favorite team. If you like signing Tyler Barron, winning bidding wars for Simeon Barrow, if you like the rivals complaining about us having too much money, be a part of the reason why that happens. It doesn't happen without people like you. So don't look to the right. Don't look to the left. Look at the man or woman in the mirror. Let's make it happen. Canes Connection, promo code CIS. Start today.
Question from Long Live Frenchie. Are they going to go after a safety in the portal?
Anything could happen. I think we're done. I think we've evaluated the portal. The portal's closed. We've seen what's there. You saw Dennis Smith's tweet where he said, let's play some football. I think Barron was the final piece of the puzzle. They would have loved to add a nickel, but that's not in the cards. I think right now it's just pin your ears back. Let's get to work. Let's win the ACC with the roster they built, which they pretty much hit every single need. They would have loved to have a nickel, I think, to move Mish Powell to safety full-time. He's still going to have to probably play some nickel, but, Mish Powell from Washington at safety. Jaden Harris, who's going to be real solid, I think. We had a great interview with him last week on YouTube. If you haven't seen it, you could just search the YouTube channel on Canes Connect on behalf of Canes Connection. Zaquan Patterson, 5-star or high 4-star true freshman. Those guys tend to play. James Williams and Cam Kitchens played their freshman year. I think you'll see the same thing from Zaquan Patterson. Marquise Williams is elevating his game quite a bit. There's going to be guys in the mix there to play, and I think those are some of the names.
Jeffrey Francis with a comment here that, it gets brought up almost every week, D, saying our school is holding back on money. That's why we weren't any good. Again, I say it almost every week here, D, but there was an administration that was not fully behind athletics and didn't necessarily run things the right way in terms of coaching searches and stuff like that. The people with money who are a big part of what goes on at Miami, why would you get behind something? It's tough to get behind something if that collective effort from the people at the top isn't where it needs to be, right? So you have people up top now who understand it's important to obviously be good in sports and be good at athletics for the university as a whole, especially a private university like Miami, D. So for me, it has taken a perfect storm. Mario becomes available. The money gets put behind it, and it's a project that gets put into it, right? It's not just hiring the coach. So look, it's a deep, complex issue when you talk about, why the money wasn't being spent before. But again, that's my view on it.
And that's all the university's money. If we're talking about Canes Connection money, this to me is the fundamental difference. Before, you couldn't pay players legally. So what you had was, we talked about in the past, Mark Emmert, the president of the NCAA, chancellor at LSU when they hired Nick Saban, basically protected the SEC and allowed them to cheat like crazy in the open secret. Everybody knew it. If Miami did anything shady, and again, we're talking about little money like this Nevin Shapiro nonsense, you had Yahoo, Charles Robinson, that dork with the beard, trying to be tough. He was posting Yahoo, Benihana's receipts on Yahoo. You had Yum sauce line items on Yahoo like it was some big story and this guy was going to win a Pulitzer Prize. It was a complete joke, but Miami gets treated differently for a million reasons, which you guys could probably figure out. So the SEC went clean. Now we're even. You could pay players, the fan base, you guys have the power to make a difference. A lot of people are joining up Canes Connection, making a difference, signing up, promo code CIS and chipping in, bringing the power of this community that we're on this call, we're on the website together to make a difference, and it's making a difference. Then you got Brian Kelly complaining. You got everybody complaining. They're going to lobby Congress right now to put a cap on NIL, which is ridiculous, but that's what they want to do, and we'll fight that when it comes time. Because they want to restrain the players' ability to make money even as they're paying them. So right now, the playing field is even, and Miami's fan base is stepping up, both at the highest donor levels and also people like you guys who are just, part of the community and want to do your part. And if you're not doing your part, join in, and you'll be the reason why Miami has money. And you get questions like this.
Eric Cook says, not the Yum sauce.
Benihana's, man. I mean, this guy was printing receipts on Benihana's like he was breaking some kind of story. The whole thing was a joke. The good news of that whole thing was it helped crumble the NCAA a little bit and make people realize that this whole thing was a sham. But I mean, you saw, Alabama, LSU, they're breaking off these guys, tens of thousands of dollars. Honestly, it was a bargain compared to what the players are making now, which is what they deserve. You got them on the cheap because it was all covered up and protected by the NCAA, which was protecting the schools, not the players. So the players, even the ones that were getting paid, were still getting underpaid. Now players are being compensated fairly in the open with programs like Canes Connection. And of course, They don't like it, so they're going to run to Congress and ask them to change the rules. But we're not going to let that happen. And in the meantime, we're going to keep stacking this roster with premium talent, signing up for Canes Connection, promo code CIS.
Our boy Martin Dubé down in Zimbabwe says 12-0. I'm sorry, but I am swimming in the Kool-Aid, not just drinking it. I don't want to hear any logic. So he's excited like most people are, especially, again, it's been such a great portal run, D, and I think last night was really a cherry on top.
100%. A Florida Prophet got the comment saying they hate Miami. I don't know why they don't just say that instead. They hate Miami. That's the fact. I mean, I'll say it myself. You know why they hate Miami. Look at the map. Miami's at the bottom of the map. It's a big city. It's not the South. It's not the North. It's not Texas. It's his own thing, and people aren't used to that. Miami changed the game in football. They changed the game in baseball. I mean, they changed the game in these sports, and people don't like that. And Miami gets, obviously we were the first ones to have to fight the NCAA. That's what it was. We were the ones that had to go through that. LSU didn't have to really go through that. Alabama, they almost got the death penalty twice because they were getting caught, but no one even talks about that. They made movies about our stuff. That's the role Miami has to take when it comes to changing the game. And even in the NIL space, who's front and center? They're talking about Ruiz. Even in this Rashada thing, we're front and center, although we're front and center for actually paying. UF's front and center for not paying and for kind of being buffoons and for, acting a fool on spaces when they're running collectives and all this stuff. So, we're doing it the right way, but we're still in the spotlight because that's just the nature of the beast. So let's be in the spotlight and let's make our reputation with it. Keep our reputation, I should say, as the team that the fan base puts their money where their mouth is. That are not all talk. That are not bull gators that talk a big game and don't do anything. That are real deal supporters of their program. That put their money where their mouth is, pay their players, honor their contracts, and do their thing. That's the reputation we want to keep.
Remember to keep getting those questions in here. We'll probably be going for another 10, 15 minutes or so here. Like this video, subscribe to the channel. Appreciate the 500 plus who are on here right now with us. It's going to be a big summer, man. I think, D, now as we are wrapping up with the portal for the most part here, recruiting season, baby. And now we understand that this calendar gets pushed up so much, and pretty much now in the summer is where most of these big time prospects make their decisions.
100%. It's cranking up. So the need for people to sign up for Canes Connection and support this hasn't ended with the portal, because now recruiting season happens and it's cranking up right again. We need to get a top 5 class to support this great portal class. Those portal guys come in, but they go out. So you got to keep that talent pumping. And recruiting, high school recruiting, is still going to be a major part of that. Look at my guy Saad Hussein here. He said Sports Illustrated had us on the magazine saying we should drop football, and now they're non-existent. Yeah, Sports Illustrated is in the dustbin. I didn't know anybody there, so I'm not shedding any tears. Goodbye to Sports Illustrated. They're gone. A lot of people who have taken shots are gone. Miami still not back, so we can't really flaunt ourselves yet. But with guys like Tyler Barron, Cam Ward, the people we've been adding, again, the continued support of Canes Connection, all you guys, we get back to the top. And once Miami gets back to the top, there's going to be a long list of names. And we're going daily, so we can be, we can be crapping on people every single day. We can just read the names of everybody every day once we're back on top. So we got to get there. This recruiting push right here with these official visits is going to be huge.
Another question here from Assad. Who's your favorite wide receiver recruit this cycle? D, I'll go with, because I've seen a few of these guys in person, but Cortez Mills, not only because obviously he's a South Florida guy, but I had the chance to interview him with Brad, and I came away very impressed. Having dealt with a ton of NFL guys before, certain guys just have that aura about them, right? Where like they're about their business, but they have that confident swag nature to them, right? Because you don't always have to be over the top with it. He was a guy who I came away very impressed with his approach to the game. And again, from everything I hear from people around him, obviously Jose Duaso at Raw, is with him a lot through these tournaments and stuff like that. And I just think he's the total package at the position. Outside of the stuff on the field, I think he'll come in and be an impact guy wherever he ends up.
Yeah, it's a good one. Dallas Wilson, from a physical standpoint, is the one that stands out probably from a physical standpoint the most. I want to learn, and I'm going to be going to more games this year than I have in the past, and just kind of really being out there, kind of seeing who are the people that really care about football, not just the big plays on the highlight reel, but the effort plays. Because wide receiver, I've said this a million times, the more I watch, the more I realize wide receiver is probably the biggest intangible position besides quarterback, maybe offensive line. The guys with the good intangibles are the ones that succeed. Even the maniacs are maniac workers. So I don't know who that person is in this receiving class. There's a lot of talented guys on pure physical talent. I can tell you Dallas Wilson stands apart, but I want to see who has that edge to really go to the next level. That's what I'm going to try to get a feel for, being around these kids and going to some of these games and watching not just the highlight plays, but the plays in between. When you see a live game in high school, that really tells you a lot. And when you go back and look and say, why did this guy make it? Why this guy didn't? You can almost think back to some of those moments in those games and say, oh, I remember this guy kind of pouting and disappearing after X happened. Or I remember this guy after there was an interception, he ran and stripped the ball, which we saw Elijah Lofton do at Las Vegas, Gorman. So little things like that I'm looking at. Talent-wise, I like Dallas Wilson.
Gio with a question here. How do you think the potential June signing day update impacts our recruiting approach?
I think every coach is going to implement rules that are going to make them recruit less and have more of a real life, or at least more time to coach their football team. And I think Mario is going to push whatever limitation to its fullest. So there's a tension there. I think most coaches want to recruit less. I think Mario's always going to recruit. So if coaches are feeling burdened by the schedule, that's actually an advantage to Mario, because Mario's going to recruit no matter what. So, I think Mario, I don't know him to say this, but I mean, if I had to guess, he probably would rather have the more burdensome schedule, because he's the one that's going to be willing to do the hard work and others aren't. So this signing day, June, will make it easier, because you're going to knock some kids off the board that you don't have to worry about buttering them up all the time, and fighting off people. You get them in the boat. You still keep a relationship, obviously, but you don't have to worry about them getting poached. You can kind of focus your attention elsewhere. I don't like it, because just from a team standpoint, forgetting the player part of it, it's going to be good for some players, but players change a lot from June to June, right? From June of their going into their senior year to June of their going to college, they change a lot. Think about you as a person, how much you change from June going into your senior year and then going on to college. So I'd rather have more time to evaluate, as opposed to having guys locked up that you have to take. Then maybe you see their senior year and you say, this is probably someone who doesn't fit.
Peanut says Sports Illustrated's only good issues were the swimsuit ones.
And those are getting
anymore. Dicey now too.
Those aren't even good anymore, man. So yeah, Sports Illustrated, man, that's they got what they deserved, in my opinion. I mean, sorry for the people that worked there, but this is a new era of media. We got CanesInsight.com. We got the power back to the people, independent people putting out media. You don't need to go to these fake sources that try to cater to everybody that are up in New York City talking about college football. I mean, we got magazines in New York City talking about college football. We got commissioners of all these places from New York City. I mean, what was the last college football you've seen come out in New York City? So, I'm going a little tangent here, but let's keep it local. Obviously, we're right here in Miami.
I don't know. Listen, we lost to Rutgers in the bowl game. I know it's not New York City, but it's close enough.
Whatever. I can tell you right now, in the CanesInsight studios, we are in literally about 2 blocks from the old Orange Bowl. We got roosters crowing here, running across the street. You're in Little Havana when you got the roosters running around. So that's how we're getting down. We're as local as you can get. So thank you for supporting CanesInsight. We got some more questions. I'm rolling.
We got a good one here from Martin, asking how you would compare the potential 2025 class to last year's.
I think defensive back needs to get a lot better in general with Miami. I've been saying that for a long time. A lot of people have. They've been searching for that good defensive back recruiter. I think the only good defensive back recruiter we ever had was T-Rob, and that was a short-lived period. And really, he didn't even sign that many people, because Manny was kind of on the way out. And that was right before really NIL got cooking. So we have not had that great defensive back recruiter. I've heard great things about Chevis Jackson, the defensive back coach now, the cornerback coach now. And look, Ben Hanks, DJ Pickett, Bryce Fitzgerald. These are guys that have extreme measurables. DJ Pickett's 10-600 guy. Ben Hanks, I think, was a 4.4 and long when he tested at the Under Armour. Bryce Fitzgerald, people were talking about his athleticism because he had a bad track time, but I heard he tested off the charts at the combine setting. So that's the kind of athletes we're talking about this year at the defensive back position. I would say that's a big difference there. The flip is defensive line. I don't know if it's going to be as good 25 as 24, but you don't know. I mean, when Miami starts winning, I think there's going to be some names emerging that we haven't thought about here as we sit here in May.
Florida Prophet asking for the, what we would think the weakest position group and strongest are going into fall right now.
I mean, you take the first one, Pete.
I mean, look, I would probably say corner just because of the depth or lack thereof, right? I mean, we're talking about secondary, it could be safety as well. I like the top three guys. We obviously just brought in De'Ani Hill, excited about him, but still want, you still want to see it at Miami. So I'm a huge Daryl Porter guy. Damari Brown, talent off the charts, going to take that next step this year, I believe. And then Jadaeus Richard, I've been a big proponent of his for a while because of the physical ability, but we've seen it limited at Miami here, right? He had a great game against Florida State. I think he's an NFL player down the line, but we've seen guys who were NFL players here at Miami who didn't necessarily perform like that on the field. So I'll go with corner for now in terms of the weakest.
Yeah, and I would agree. I mean, you could throw safety in that mix too. Same issues. It's just Adebayo's not a very good recruiter, so we're paying the price for that. I think we're learning that the portal's not loaded with guys that have the requisite size and speed that you want in the secondary. If you want to be like a Georgia type team, you need to get those guys out of high school, those 5-star guys. Even Georgia lost one, but they recruited so many of those guys that they can lose a Caleb Downs and still be loaded. You got to recruit blue chip defensive backs because aside from the occasional Caleb Downs, there's not that many good ones leaving. I think secondary in general, Pete, you said corner, I say safety, same thing. I think secondary is the weakest. Strongest, we talked about to start the show, defensive end, loaded. Experience, versatility, youth on the come up. So I think defensive end is really where the strength of the team is. I would also on the other side say tackle, offensive tackle. Usually you have teams where you're moving guards to tackle that really are not natural tackles. I think Miami's at a place where they're moving guys that could play tackle to guard. Inez Cooper could play tackle legitimately and be good, in my opinion. McCoy could play tackle. Sampson was a 5-star tackle. So I think you have Markel Bell and Kinsler kind of on the come up. So I think tackle's a place where Miami really is strong. Of course, you have Jalen Rivers and Mawanoa at tackle now, top tackle tandem in the ACC. You could also move them inside, both of those guys as guards. They may be natural guards from an NFL standpoint. So I think tackle on offense, then just same position or same spot on the other side, defensive end. I think right on the edges, Miami's very, very good.
Question here from K-Stan03. Who's going to be featured at nickel when Powell plays safety? Is De'Ani physical enough? I'll let you answer here in a second, D, but I think Damari Brown could play some nickel, and that he's extremely physical there as well. I know he's not you expect a bigger guy like that to play on the boundary, but I could see Damari Brown playing some nickel.
Yeah, I'm with you, Pete. I think with Damari Brown and nickel, if he's really nasty blitzer, that's one of his strengths. And if you're nickel, you're the closest one to the QB. So I think that's something, that's not the only reason you'd put him at nickel, but I think that's an element that he brings. I think he's overall physical. If he needs to be the force player, he's going to knock people back. He can cover, obviously. He's good enough to be an outside corner. I think maybe quickness, you worry a little bit, but he's quicker than Mish Powell. So I think Brown makes sense there. I think Porter could do it. As far as
well, and remember there's a lot of bigger slots these days as well. So it's not everyone thinks of your typical slot receiver, smaller guy with quicks, but the way that these offenses are these days, they're moving bigger guys inside as well.
It could be a tight end too.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at Miami, there's going to be times where you see Elijah Arroyo maybe lined up on line, and then Riley Williams is extended out, or vice versa. So that's or Elijah Lofton in that mix. So yeah, it's a unique position. We're going to have to mix and match a little bit there. I think Miami would have loved to have a guy that majors in nickel, just to have that stability. But I think it's going to be more of a mix and match.
All right, D, wrapping things up here. Appreciate everyone who's been on the stream today. Again, Canes Insight Daily, Monday through Friday. Remember to subscribe to the channel. Sign up for CanesInsight.com, completely free. And appreciate everyone's support. Have over 700 people on here live. If you're getting in here late and you missed the beginning of the show, it's going to be up immediately right now on YouTube, and then in just a bit on audio on our Apple Podcasts. And see, Kevin Dennis says, hold on, I just got on. This whole replay is going to be available immediately here, right on YouTube on the CanesInsight.com page. And if you subscribe, you won't miss any of the videos we drop, because last night, D, we got this commit from Tyler Barron. And as soon as the commit became public, the video was posted, you get your instant analysis right there. And you only get that if you subscribe to the page. So make sure you do that.
Go Canes.
Go Canes.